Well, Geoffrey Rush, your latest role is as Albert Einstein. Now, you've done a lot of historical figures over the years, true life people. How is that different for you as an actor than when you were playing a truly fictional character?
They sort of vary. I did a count up. I don't know how many films I've done, 45 or 50 or something, and I think maybe 10 of them were real life people. And the spectrum of that ranges from David Helfgott, who I now know terribly well, but at the time when I played him in Shine, he wasn't a public face that people would recognize, you know. Whereas someone like Einstein, there's already 3 or 4 famous photos that everyone seems to have in their public consciousness, you know. But there's no rule book for it. I look at what they have to do, what events do they encounter as a kind of central protagonist in the story, what's washing over them, what are they good at, what do they fail at. And whether it's a pirate or a pelican, you try and dig into the same kind of portrait of giving as much dimension as you can to the individuals.
Ron Howard, we talked to him last week, and you're director on the first and the producer of the whole project, and he said you really you wanted some conversations with him before you decided to take the role to make sure it was right for you.
Well, you know, it's, as a now much older character actor, there's a responsibility, I think, that comes with that, and for someone who's as treasured in the public imagination as Albert Einstein, you have to honor the gift of being given that role to play, you know. So I got a friend who was a very good Photoshop person. They took a photo of me, my daughter took a photo of me in the same angle as this classic Einstein photo, and I said to this guy, because he was brilliant on the computer, I said, make it 15% of Einstein and 85% of me. I just want to see how it goes, because this is like a makeup test for me, you know what I mean? And the results were pretty good, because my face is different shape and longer and all of that. And once the eyebrows went in and I saw the hair, and then the hair didn't come out so well in the mashup. So I just got some white out, you know, like liquid paper, and hand drew Jackson Pollock style hair. And I scanned it and sent it to Ron, and I said, you know, I think we can do this, because this is one of those parts where, not just through mimicry, but through a credible likeness, I thought was fairly important to giving credibility to the character.
Now, Johnny Flynn plays the younger Albert Einstein. You're both in the first installment as we go back and forth in time. Then he's there for a while, then you come in toward the end again. Did you watch any of his work? Did he watch any of your work to get to feed off of each other?
Yeah, we both got cast like within a week of each other, because I think they looked very closely at trying to find the right team who were going to mash up and play younger Einstein and older Einstein. So Johnny and I was in Melbourne at the time, he was in the UK, so we got together on Skype and had really, you know, kind of pragmatic conversations about shared mannerisms, how much does he change from being such a rebellious, almost punk-like teenager into a very comfortable bourgeois Berliner in his later life. And we talked about his pre-celeb and post-celeb personality. And I said, you know, when I'm looking at photos of me when I was in my teens and 20s, it's like I'm looking at another person. I said, I don't think you particularly, need to. It's just enough to convince an audience that we are that guy earlier and later in his life, you know. And the only time I'd encountered that before was on Shine, where Noah Taylor played my younger self and I was playing his older self. And we would get it down to things like, for David Helfgott, how does he put his glasses on? You know, like just little flavoursome mannerisms. And we shared the same dialect coach, and that was very useful. Because from the newsreel footage, Einstein had quite a high tenor voice. Do you know what I mean? And that, not that we wanted to lose the sound of our own voice. There needed to be some of the actor in there as well, I think. But they were the sort of things we played with. And I noticed on Skype, I said, I'm looking at you, and you've got eyes like my son. You know, I could see a resemblance. I said, that's maybe what we need, if there's something there. And most people seem to be going, it's uncanny how you guys look like each other. We don't at all, you know.
As you looked at the screenplay, you looked at the life of Albert Einstein. The whole project, one thing that I love about it is it covers so much aesthetically. You've got drama, you've got a little bit of humor, you've got religion, you've got politics, you've got science. Is that part of the appeal for you as an actor?
Yes, and that's another reason, I suppose, why I've coincidentally gravitated towards certain famous, well-known people. It's not that I have a Paul Muni complex or anything like that. I do get interested in characters that are rich in ideas, and if there's any common thread, they tend to be creative people, let's say. You know, the Marquis de Sade was a writer, Peter Sellers was a performer, Trotsky was a political theorist, you know what I mean? And I really enjoy the worlds that they open up, the landscape and the time period that these people exist in. I love the immersion, intellectually and kinetically, finding out how they ticked as a human being within their own sphere, you know.
And about Einstein himself, once people have seen the whole thing over the next few weeks, what do you hope they find out? What do you hope they take away about him?
Well, I hope they don't expect or want to take away a intimately detailed knowledge of the special theory of relativity, because you've got to go and study at university for about 8 years, you know, and to understand the complexities of what he was discovering. I hope they take away a feeling that there are so many echoes from this epoch. I think is a big part of one of the main characters in the series. This golden age of scientific and industrial invention from when Einstein was a young man, with, you know, cinema, automobile, the discovery of X-rays, electromagnetism, Marconian wireless activity. So much was going on. The devastation and the scale of two major global conflicts. And Einstein is, to me, an ideal 20th century every person who moves through that storytelling landscape, and humanizes the response to often cataclysmic events on a global scale, and also within his own marital and domestic life, where he did have a tragic kind of relationships in a way with both wives to a degree, estrangement from his sons. I hope people, you know, identify and recognize something about the fascinating contradictions that can exist within a human personality, and that's kind of the family we're all part of.
We might see you back at the Emmy Awards again this summer. You've already got an Emmy, you've got an Oscar, you've got a Tony. We were looking this up the other day, and I'm not 100% certain on this, but of the people that have gotten those three, I think, and that's 50, 60 people that have gotten those exact three, I think you're the only one to win on your first try at all three places. Tell us about, well, first of all, before we get into that, only 12 people have gotten the EGOT, which I'm sure you're familiar with, meaning you need a Grammy Award. to be number 13. Have you thought about what you might do to get a Grammy Award?
No, I'm a toe. I'm a TOE. I'm very happy about that actually, because ours is a profession where sometimes people can be quite mean, wounds you to the core, and you have a few unhappy days about it. So sometimes, not so much the award, it's the reward, I think, of, in particular cases, that some of your work has been given an accolade, mostly by a peer group. That's a nice feeling. I don't know about a Grammy, people write stuff and say, you could do an audio book, or you could do this, and I don't know. I wouldn't be sure where to go. A singer, I'm not.
Yeah, Ron Howard, who I mentioned, talked to, he just won a Grammy a couple of months ago for the Beatles documentary. I told him, I said, that's, for a non-singer, non-composer, that's the hardest thing to have.
Well, it is that 8 days a week. That is a poem. I just found that's such an extraordinary piece of work.
When you got to the Oscars for Shine that night, what were you feeling? You'd won quite a few awards leading up to that night. Did you feel like this was probably going to be yours?
No, I had no expectations apart from the fact that I was there and I was one of 4 other nominees. I had no idea, where it was going to go. I think in those days there were Las Vegas odds, and I could never interpret them, and I didn't know how they polled or anything like that. I was in very good company, and I felt a great sense of reward that I was there, present, playing an Australian character in an Australian-made, very low-budget independent film. And I was sitting in that particular era with, people like Emily Watson was nominated for Breaking the Waves, and Brenda Blethyn was there for Secrets and Lies, and Billy Bob Thornton, and it was just that lovely mushrooming of low-budget, independent, edgy of filmmaking, kind of having its day in the sun.
And what was the reaction back at home, Australia and winning the Oscar?
Well, it was. I've only seen this on replay, but it was broadcast through one of our free-to-air commercial networks, Channel 9, and they have the little boxes of who the nominees are. There's Woody Harrelson, there's Ralph Fiennes, there's Tom Cruise, me, etc., Billy Bob, and my mother. They'd taken her to a special luncheon at the 9 studios or whatever. And when my name was read, she just fell out of her chair, like disappeared from the box. It's hilarious. And then I spoke to her on the phone, and she was so excited, but I could still feel that she felt for her age group. But people like Spencer Tracy win Oscars, not my son, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was proud, and I hit the front page. Actors in Australia up until that point never hit the front page of the newspaper, even for scandal, you know what I mean? So it was nice to see that creativity out of our country was suddenly headline news for a day.
And since your win, we've had Nicole Kidman, we've had Russell Crowe, a lot.
Kate's got 2.
Kate's got 2 now. You got to run to keep up with her.
Mm.
Your Emmy win, you mentioned Peter Sellers earlier. That to me is just one of the, regardless of film or television, one of the great performances of the past half century. Did you feel very good about that as you completed that project?
It was a very scary one, and it took me a long time to kind of wrap my head around saying yes, because I thought there's going to be, other actors or other comedians or fans are going to have knives ready if you do something wrong with it. But I thought the screenplay was so imaginative to take the idea of this would be like a Peter Sellers film that he could have been in, do you know what I mean? Where I played other characters and multiple characters like he did in his own films. And the key for that was I just, I was so busy every day because with the weight, and I had, rubber latex prosthetics at that point, when he had weight, up and down weight things, and then transformations to look like Chauncey the Gardener or Merkin Muffley, and then I secretly enjoyed, I thought I would never get to play an American president in anything, but to get to play Merkin Muffley really, was a personal feather in the cap. And I realized about a week in, I was so busy with diverse makeups every day. Sometimes it would be up to 5 hours, and we'd only start shooting at midday and get 5 more hours. Every day I looked in the mirror, I was being someone else, and I thought, wow, that's what this character is. It's a complete mosaic. And Stephen Hopkins, who was the director, we sort of worked really hard on an amazing makeup team. I said, as long as we get the characters that we're seeing that he played, like Chauncey the Gardener, like Clouseau, as long as we get a pretty forensic accuracy in that, and recreating the bits from the films, then we can invent the more private parts of his life. But mind you, he left a lot of footage. He loved gadgets and he loved filming things. So there was a lot of access material.
Well, we're loving Genius. I can't wait to see how it all concludes. I've seen the first 3, so I've got quite a few to go, and you'll be making your return toward the end of the run. So thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you.